A love triangle. One member feels jilted and goes off the deep end. A gun is involved. This week on Critiquing Comics, Adam and I talk about the thriller Lovers Quarrel by Rob Capili, Ikos Karimlan, and Joy Mateo. Then Jason joins me to critique the second issue of Digital Bardos, over a year after we discussed the first one. What's happening in the story? Good question. First, as always, I'd like to thank our patrons for helping to keep the show going. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
This is Adam.
This is Jason.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo, and starting out this time with Adam in Nagoya. How you doing?
I'm all right, Tim. It's wintertime, wrapping up towards the end of the year, so it's a busy season, but we finally get some Christmas. Although, I don't know about you, I'll be working all day on Christmas as usual. So,
right? Yeah. Well, school's already on vacation for me, so
okay.
I mean, maybe it helps that it's a Christian school, but my experience is pretty much all private high schools are on break by the time it's December 21st as we're recording this. By the time people hear this, it'll be 2026. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We're going to talk about a comic called Lovers Quarrel, which on the cover has no apostrophe. I noticed on a different, I think it was someplace on the Kickstarter page, it had apostrophe S. Really, it should be S apostrophe because it's more than one lover.
I was just going to ask where the apostrophe would,
Yeah, the lover is not arguing with themselves. So,
Right.
Written by Rob Capili, art by Ikos Karimlan, colors by Joy Mateo. I have to say, I do not like the font that the credits were written in. I had to really stare at it for a while to figure out what all the letters were.
Yeah, I agree.
But the comic, so to kind of summarize the first part of it, I don't want to spoil things that happen in it, but starts out there's this guy Keith at home eating pizza, and a woman named Emma arrives in a black BMW. And we're told the car belongs to Jenny. Keith thought they had been out together, Emma and Jenny, but Emma says Jenny got tied up at work. She tells him to open the trunk because there's something in it for him, which turns out to be Jenny, bound and gagged.
Right.
Emma then whacks Keith on the head with a shovel, and when he wakes up, Emma has them both tied up and gagged and pulls out a gun. Says she wants to play a game with them where they both have to write down, I guess she has to untie them so they can write. They have to both write down the name of, quote, who's to blame for this mess. And if they write the same name, then that's the person that she'll shoot. And it goes from there. There's some twists and turns. I found I had misunderstood what the relationship was and who was the other woman in the situation. And I think that might have been an intentional misdirection.
I think so too, because there's a part towards the beginning where he says, if I know my wife, he's referring to occasionally by name to Emma or to Jenny by name, and then other times by my wife. And I think it's intentionally left where you don't know which one is which. Mm-hmm. Perhaps. So,
yeah. I thought the story was. I thought that the writing was a little better than the art. The writing, I thought it was pretty exciting, suspenseful. The ending was good. I wasn't sure what to expect for the ending, but yeah, I liked the writing overall.
Yeah, me too. It felt very much like I went through a phase, back in college where I was into that director. I think his name is Park Chan-wook. He directed Old Boy and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance and things like that. Like the revenge genre. There was like a boom of Korean revenge films, and this very much fits in that kind of oeuvre. It's like a psychological thriller because there's not really much happening. It's two people strapped to chairs for the majority of the book, but you don't know, who's going to choose what name. And so there's some game theory, there's some psychological stuff. There's also betrayal and intrigue and things like that. So yeah, I agree. I think that the writing was that aspect of the writing, the plot and the pacing of the story was all very well done. There are aspects of the writing that I have notes for.
Okay. What were those?
Well, it actually sort of ties into the art and the story kind of as a whole. Like, I feel like the writer was writing... I'm not sure where to put the blame here, but I do think that there's a lot of things where there was exposition that wasn't necessary at all because they're explaining exactly what's happening.
That was something I forgot to write in my notes, but I did think that it was like, there's so much narration. I mean, it feels like an 80s comic. It feels like John Byrne, like filling his FF pages with text, explaining what you're seeing. And I wasn't quite sure we needed all of that explanation.
Exactly. Especially there's some scenes where it's like he rummages through the refrigerator and it's like, it doesn't add to anything. And you have a a drawing of him opening the refrigerator and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's self-explanatory.
Exactly. And I've always, so many times on this show, I've said that comics is a visual medium, so you should show and not tell. And there are also times where I felt like the art wasn't even describing exactly what the text box was saying. In the very first, I think it's on page 5, but the very first actual page of story, there's a caption box that says, a well-manicured suburban house. And that image, it's not well manicured. It looks like it's kind of overgrown. It certainly doesn't look suburban. It looks like it's out like a big...
Yeah, out in the country.
Yeah, a huge house out in the country. And so there's some things where I don't even feel like the exposition quite matches what's going on in the art. So like I said, I don't know if this is the writer's fault or if it's a miscommunication between the artist and the author. I do think that style, that sort of, Western comic style of having a writer, a penciler, an inker, a letterer is one of the most difficult ways to create a cohesive piece of art because you have so many different voices that are, you have too many cooks in the kitchen almost, which is why I think Japanese comics tend to have a more singular vision. So I don't know where that communication breakdown comes about, but I do think there was quite a few times where I saw things that were unnecessary. Exposition was all throughout the book, and then other times where I felt the exposition either didn't fit the art or it was placed in a weird way or things like that. So that was my biggest pet peeve of the book.
Yeah, I hadn't really noticed that, but you're right. I mean, we don't see a lot of the house's surroundings, but what we do get, like on page 7, the third panel, we just see some like trees and looks like a field there. It looks like there are no houses around them at all.
Right. Right.
So,
I actually wrote a note down in here that says page 7, art looks incomplete. So what you're saying it totally fits with what I was, there are some scenes in this where it has kind of a dashed look to it where there's not complete outlines and there's, swashes of color in it and it works well. But page 7 felt like it needed a little bit more to fill it out. So that on that same part of that critique, if you go to, for example, page 18, there's a scene where it describes him, he's tied up to a chair, but he's trying to sort of jumping around on the chair and his eyes, are nervous, looking around, showing fear. and he's saying, she's going to blow my balls off. This is all in one dialogue box. If they had stretched that out without any exposition, it could have been really, really visually dynamic. You see him jumping around in the chair. You can flash to his eyes looking panicked, and then a thought bubble saying she's going to blow my balls off, instead of having it all sort of consolidated into, a one or two text box. So
yeah, it's a huge towering text box. So the panel of him is 2/3 of the page, but about 1/3 of the panel is the text box.
Right. So I feel like that could have been done better, and I don't know how the script. Exactly, yeah. So I've had my experience with this as well. I did a book with a writer quite a few years back, and that was the critique that came back to me, was it seems like you're not used to working with a writer. That was the big comment I got, because I didn't know where to put their boxes, and I didn't know which boxes to cut out and things like that. So I ended up cutting off art with text boxes or things like that. So it could be that there just wasn't enough communication between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, sometimes artists don't leave enough space for what's been written for that panel, and then you end up with boxes overlapping parts of the art that you would really want to be able to see.
Exactly. And I think that another criticism that I have for this book is, in a very similar vein, there are times where it seems that the layout of the page was composed before they put word balloons and things like that. So sometimes it's awkward.
Yeah.
It'll go backwards to the left, where the page will finish on the left instead of finishing on the right, or things like that. I think page 15 is that way. The word balloons are in somewhat of an awkward position. So the last panel finishes in a weird space, and your eyes don't necessarily want to go there.
Yeah, I was just looking at 15, that last box. I know you have questions. It feels like it's the art is not just an empty space there. It's part of her arm and her back, and yeah, it just seems like a weird place to put it. And then you've got a word balloon to the left with a bunch of white space around it, and maybe the two of them could have been switched if that order worked.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's probably the biggest. All the criticisms that I have for this book all are basically they have the same root cause, which is that the blocking of pages and the composition boxes and all of that, they just don't seem as well thought out as they could have been. One page that really sort of bothered me was page 9, and if you notice towards the top, there's a panel where the head is cut off, so you don't see that, and then the waist is cut off and the arms are cut off. So you really only see like a section of the torso. And
an arm and the wrist and the other arm. Yeah, as he's opening the trunk of the car. Exactly,
yeah. And there's some really kind of rules of thumb for when you compose a page. One is that whenever possible, you should not cut off the head. It should be in the panel. Unless you have a reason to draw focus somewhere else, like let's say he got shot in the chest and you need to show that wound or something. But you should always have the head. And if you are going to cut things off, they should be cut off at a joint, or else the reader feels kind of weird feeling about it. So, and these are cut off not at joints; they're cut off kind of mid forearm and things like that.
Yeah, and there's kind of it's been a long time since I used Photoshop. I've forgotten the word I'm looking for. A gradient to white at the top, and you're not even sure if he has a head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and in order, when you want to show something, the face is the most expressive part of the body, obviously, and then the second most expressive is the hands, and then after that would be the posture of the person. Those are the three things that really communicate how the character's feeling or what they're doing. And in this one, you have a section of a torso, which is the least expressive thing you could have on of a body. So I had a lot of problems with this particular panel. It looked like they were just kind of filling in space to fill up the page perhaps or something. So that was a big one for me. But there are some pages where I feel the composition was well done and the art was quite accomplished. So, for example, I'm looking through my notes here. I think that page 19 was well blocked out, and the positions of the characters and the total composition works well. The flow is nice.
Yeah.
I think 25 also looks good. It's a good use of really simple, colors and all of that kind of stuff. So that works out well. So it's kind of inconsistent. Some pages have really great art and some have, kind of less, quality art, I would say. So
yeah, a couple things that stuck out for me. So, at the beginning of the story, I was, pretty hazy on the relationships between the characters, and a couple of things that might have helped me that I kind of didn't retain. But I got to page 10 where you see Jenny in the trunk, and at first I thought that she was like 10 years old. And if I look at it again, like the legs are too long for her to be a 10-year-old, but something about the upper part of her body looks childlike. And
That's funny.
I thought it was his daughter or something.
I thought it was him. I thought I was going to go into some kind of weird Twilight Zone thing where he saw a copy of himself in the trunk or something. So, yeah, that one was sort of hard to read. It's a hard shot to draw a person tied up in a trunk to show the trunk and to show all of that. But I think, yeah, I agree. And also there's tape over the mouth and the hair is disheveled. So it is a hard shot to draw, but it was a bit confusing for me as well.
The other thing was on page 35. So the bane of comics letterers, since comics, you're usually expected to write in all caps, you got to be really careful of the sound effect flick, because the L and the I together can look like a different letter. And you see what I'm getting at. The sound effect becomes like a F-bomb. So, and this one, out of the corner of my eye, I did think that it was an F-bomb. Oh, okay, that's an L and an I. Okay.
It wouldn't have passed the Marvel censors, probably. They would have caught that.
Right.
Yeah,
but I've heard of comics creators who have warned about using that word in a comic. You got to be really careful.
Yeah. So I do have a little bit of another critique about the art, and this is some constructive criticism. I think that there is a sort of variation in styles in this. There are some pages where there is kind of a minimalist line, and then it's kind of left to the color gradients to kind of, or the shading to fill out the rest. And there's pages where that works really well and pages where it doesn't work as well. But then there are other pages where there's a lot of kind of finer cross-hatching and things like that. And so that art style is not consistent throughout the book, which makes you kind of stop and pause at some points because you're not sure what's going on. So let me give you an example. There is a scene on, I think, page 21, where the styles are really contrasting. So there's cross-hatching, but then there's also if you look, there's different colors of shading, kind of a darker gray, and so because these two different styles are there, it makes the character look like she's dirty or disheveled or something instead of showing tone. And so I think page 33 is another one where the cross-hatching just makes them look either injured or dirty or something. And if it was just cross-hatching, it would be fine. Or if it was, I think it's the combination of the two. So
yeah, she looked like somebody poured ink on her.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something just to be careful in the future is, cross-hatching, it can be used as a type of shorthand in comics. Like in newspaper comics, that means they're either dirty or scratched up, like in really simplified comics. And then in the more kind of detailed comic stuff like, monthly, like Marvel and DC stuff, it's used more for creating shading and values. I think mixing those styles can be, it can invite kind of confusion in the way that it looks visually. So I would say, going back to my first comment about, the very simplified line and leaving the colorist to do all the rest, there's a nice looking one on, let's see, it's towards the beginning of the book. I can't find it in my notes, but there is a part towards the beginning where it shows the sort of figure of the woman, and there's almost no outlines at all. It's almost all done with color, and it almost looks like a painting, and I think it comes across really well. And then there are other parts where it just looks incomplete. So, so the one I was talking about is on page 8. I apologize.
Okay.
So there's no hard outlines at all on
that second panel. Yeah. I guess the third one also. It's just kind of painted.
Right. Yeah. And I think that looks nice.
It does.
And that ends up kind of, when you go to another page and you see a lot of kind of more detailed pen work, it sort of catches you off guard. So I would say to keep a consistent style throughout the book might work better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I was just looking at page 33. There's a photo on a person's phone of her with another guy in a sexually explicit situation, and I'm wondering who took this photo. Because it doesn't look like she was like holding her phone for a selfie or something. I'm also not sure why they're kind of surrounded by like a snowy background.
Yeah. Maybe the omniscient narrator took the photo.
I guess so.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that.
By the way, so I'm reading this as a PDF in Acrobat, and Acrobat keeps telling me, oh, this is kind of a long document. Do you want me to generate an AI summary? And so okay, let's see what happens with a comic. And it generated an explanation that's takes almost as long to read as does to read the comic. But I thought it was a pretty good summary or explanation of the comic. I was a little surprised that it was able to figure out some of the details.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. This document appears to be a fictional narrative involving intense interpersonal conflict, suspense, and themes of love and danger, featuring characters named Emma, Jenny, and Keith.
Wow. Well, good job, Adobe.
And it goes on from there with bullet points and everything. So,
you know what? So this is not directly connected to your comment, but you mentioned bullet points, which made me think of bullets. There is this a line from this comic that kind of surprised me that they went there, which is there's a scene where it says, I want to find this so I can read it exactly. Yeah, mixed in blanks with bullets, Baldwin style. And I was like, ooh, burn. So I think, I'm assuming that's referencing the Baldwin accidentally shooting wasn't it on a movie set, they accidentally put a bullet in with the blanks.
Okay. I missed that one. What page is that?
That is on page 39.
Okay, so, yeah, Alec Baldwin and that shooting accident on a movie set.
Right. So yeah, she said, because they shoot the gun and there's it fires a blank. She's like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention there's blanks mixed in with the bullets, Baldwin style. And I thought, ooh, ouch. So
wow, too soon.
Yeah. But yeah, in that respect, I do think that the writing was quite edgy. It was dark, but still very fun. Mm-hmm. And as we said in the beginning, it's fast paced. So the writing was really good. And I know that, this is a Kickstarter book for everybody listening, right?
And the Kickstarter is finished. He's made his goal.
Okay.
He told me he was a little surprised. He hadn't expected it to reach the goal, but it did.
Okay.
So you can't support the Kickstarter anymore, but it's on Amazon. And I'll link to both of those, the Kickstarter and the Amazon.
Yeah, when you initially sent it over to me, I saw the Kickstarter, and the explanation on the Kickstarter is mostly sort of backstory about how this person was going through a lot of stuff at the time and made them write this really awful, dark story. So that's good that they were able to turn that dark experience into art.
Yeah. Make it a constructive thing instead of actually holding a gun on someone and
Right. Yeah, it is a little scary that their mind went there, but I'm glad that it was fictionalized at least. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to say this for this book. I would say until about 2/3 through the book, I was not. I was planning on sort of tearing it apart on the podcast because I wasn't really. There was a lot of criticisms that I had for it, but actually, when I got after a certain point, I just started kind of going through it quickly because the story is well paced and the art it lets that story breathe really quickly. So you don't have to. It doesn't hold you up, on the pages. So that in that way, it works really well. So as I got more towards the middle and the last half of the book, my criticism sort of faded away, and I sort of just started getting into the story and reading it. And so, and I did enjoy it. The ending was really good. The, little twists here and there. Mm-hmm. The plot reveals made these really interesting psychological twists. And so for that,
some hypocrisy involved.
Yeah, exactly. So in that regard, I would definitely recommend it for that. And it's a very breezy read. I mean, it takes all of 5-10 minutes to finish it. So,
yeah.
So yeah, it's not all criticism, but I do think that in future projects, the artist and the writer should really sit down and sort of knock out the composition and the flow a little bit better before they actually start putting pen to page.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the connection is. They might be in like different countries or something. Who knows these days?
Yeah, very well
but,
could be.
Get on Zoom or something and, iron it out a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are certainly good points of this, and I hope they'll keep working on more comics.
Yeah, I agree.
Coming up, Digital Bardos, featuring a hippie who's made himself a digital god and his son who just doesn't dig the scene. Jason and I discuss. This podcast is part of the Deconstructing Comics Network, where we're grateful to our supporters on Patreon. Patrons get exclusive extra content. Pledge $2 a month or more and get Batman 66 podcast Bat Bits. We're currently looking at the draft script for A Riddle a Day Keeps the Riddler Away. At $4 a month, you also get our monthly show Silver Age Batman, where we're looking at many of the wacky Batman stories from the 50s. Also at the $4 level, you can still access our past series that covered the first 50 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, including episodes with guest spots by Swamp Thing artist Steve Bissett and New Yorker cartoonist Joe Dater. Follow our Patreon for free and get access to the first 2 episodes of both Bat Bits and Silver Age Batman. Check it out at patreon.com/deconcomics, and thanks for your support.
You like cheap comic books, right? Well, I'm Professor Allen, and I talk about cheap comic books on the Quarter Bin Podcast. In every episode, I'll dissect a single comic from my collection, as long as I paid no more than 25 cents for the issue. Forget about $4 new comics that you can read in 4 minutes, or crossover events that can cost $100 to collect. Join me in the Quarter Bin, where even bad comics are a bargain, and good ones are a steal. The Quarter Bin Podcast is part of the Relatively Geeky Podcast Network. Visit us at relativelygeekypodcast.blogspot.com or search Relatively Geeky or Quarter Bin Podcast in iTunes. I guarantee it'll be worth every penny.
All right, now I'm back with Jason in Portland. How you doing?
I'm cold. It's colder than my mother's love here in Portland. In my office, it's not insulated, so I got the space heater on my toes, and I got a hoodie on. But it's lovely to see you again, Tim. Happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been cold too. I don't know why. My heat's on, but it's not helping very much. And it's around freezing here. It's not like it's Alaska or something, but
well, Portland's always wet, right? Like you take a shower and that towel doesn't dry till March. Like there's so much moisture here that I kind of feel like I'm always cold and wet.
Well, yeah, somehow the moisture makes people feel colder. Anyway, so we've got the second issue of Digital Bardos from King Klaus. We talked about it a little over a year ago on this show, the first issue.
I remember it. It was memorable.
Yeah.
It was very memorable. And this is not just a second issue. This is a supersized second issue. This was a long issue.
Well, yeah, it's 36 pages. The first one was only 17. I've got them both open here. So, in case people don't remember, this is the one where this kind of hippie guy, Darren, has made himself into some kind of digital god. He's like uploaded himself to the cloud or something, and he's getting other people to do the same. And in this issue, we see his son, Jude, which made me think of Hey Jude, of course, but his son is like completely against all of this. And so it's basically just like a philosophical argument between the father and the son here.
Yes, so he's visited by his father in the real world, right? Or is he having an imaginary argument with his dad? Because
no, I think it's the real world, because Jude would not upload himself, I don't think.
No, but is Jude really having that argument with his dad, or is it like a... So that was one thing I was a little confused about. The other thing I was a little bit confused about is Jude seems to be anti-technology, but he also walks around in an augmented reality visor.
Yeah, where he's seemingly on the moon.
Yeah, so he's constantly altering his reality because he doesn't like the reality in front of him, but he also is against people that are... So in this digital realm where his dad reigns supreme, there is a really interesting concept that people will do this sort of trade-in where they'll trade their bodies, and their bodies can be used for work in factories and whatnot. But their spirit, their brain can live in this utopia, this sort of digital utopia. Which has been, we've seen this explored many different ways, but not quite like this, which I think is really interesting. So it is sort of analogous, or you can make the argument that we are sort of doing the same thing now, right? Like we are working and all our leisure is staring at our phones, right? Like that's our only escape. So I do think he's tapping into some cultural, the cultural zeitgeist that way, in a really interesting way, in a fun way. But I would have liked the Jude character to been a little bit. I would have liked to know more about why he's wearing those glasses, and what his relationship is with his father. Because it seems like his father abandoned him to go build this digital utopia. But when did they reach out? What is their relationship like now? I would have liked a little bit more of that. But I think it's a really interesting conflict. And I have to say that this book, if we can back up, the art is phenomenal. It's really good. And the colors are great. The lettering is solid. I only caught one uppercase I in the middle of a word.
Well, there was one panel where something seemed to have happened in that sequence with the pig butchering. There's a box that has like one letter in it, the letter T. I don't know. Could have been intentional, I suppose. I don't know. I was confused.
I tripped over that. I was too. But I thought it was interesting. I have to say, this is one of the more like professional-looking books, if not the most professional-looking book that we've looked at on this show. Like it's really, really of a high professional quality. But it is the most uncommercial book I think we've ever looked at.
Yeah.
In that the plot is not moving forward at all. Like the first one was a bit of a philosophical understanding of the guy who created this digital.
Yeah, it's an origin story. So there was a bit more plot. But this one is kind of just philosophical argument. And the thing that kind of bothered me was that they were arguing about something that in our world doesn't exist. So I was kind of like, what's the point of this from our perspective? Because we don't live in a world where we can do this technologically, not yet anyway.
But people do spend people do have online lives. People are attached to devices, I think, in an unhealthy way.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you could see the real life parallels there. For me, it was like he's making an argument. It's the same argument for 30 pages. Like I was already on his side. Like, yeah, that seems.
Yeah, it was kind of hitting the same note again and again. I felt like.
So, and the story, if you look at it abstractly from a high level, this issue is about a guy in his apartment who then goes to work and leaves. Like physically, that's kind of all that really happens at a high level in the story. So I think this is a gorgeous book. I think this creator is super talented.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I was only doing an issue a year, I might move a little quicker. Because if I had to guess where this story is going, if it's going anywhere, eventually I think Jude has to get pulled into this realm that his father created and dismantle it from the inside. If I had to guess, based on like the 3-act story structure and just regular paradigms of story, you always want to take a character and what's the worst thing that could happen to him, you do that thing. And if Jude hates this, I think it's called New something. What's it called?
New Mind. Yeah.
New Mind. Then you have to
spelled
put him in
NEU, almost like German Neu. I was thinking of.
But. So I'm assuming, but again, we're 50 pages into this and we have no idea what the story is. Only that it's beautiful to look at. It's really well produced and well made. It's just really not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's how I felt too. Kind of spinning its wheels, and I was
and they're beautiful wheels
for some action to happen. Yeah, it's great to look at. But yeah, I was just I wanted something more story wise.
This is one of those books I look at and I'm excited about because I know if this is like an early book by this creator, in 5 years they're going to make a masterpiece. You know what I mean? Like I want to know what they do next. I'm super excited about this creator because this looks great, and I think they have a unique voice and something to say in a way that most people are not. I can't think of any other comic books like this. But I want to see what they do next. I don't. This book isn't for me, as well made as it is, as beautiful it is to look at. I don't enjoy reading it.
Yeah, that was the problem for me too. But yeah, you're right. It looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what they do next, and I'll stick with this project and happily read it because it's the best version of this that you could find. I just don't know that I want this.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else to say about it?
I mean, you could wrap it up here. I don't know. If you're doing one issue a year, maybe they've got a great day job. I bet you that having gone through this process, this creator has discovered more stories within themselves that they want to tell. And I want to see those. But, like Pluribus. Have you been watching Pluribus? People complain about the pacing of Pluribus.
I heard about it. I haven't seen it, but
I love it. And I would like it, but I would also like it to move faster. And you get to the end of the first season, you're like, I didn't have enough story. I want more story. As much as I'm enjoying it, you do want a satisfying chunk of story when you sit down. And that's challenging to do issue by issue. We're 2 issues in now.
Yeah.
And I don't know I know what the world is. I know who the characters are. I don't know what the conflicts are or what the story mechanism is. So, I mean, if they make 1 issue a year, this could be a 10-year thing before we get a satisfying, like, chunk of story.
Yeah,
that's my thinking.
Like you're thinking, it's apparently the conflict is going to be between the father and the son here. But yeah, we're just
eventually
really digging into their disagreement here without anything really happening.
And maybe that's the point of the book. Maybe it's just a philosophical book, and we're expecting slam bam action. I don't know. I just want something to move forward.
Yeah.
But I can't say. I can say that this is a really unique vision, and I applaud that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's a beautiful book. If you want a philosophical look at technology and man and the human spirit, I can't think of a better place to get it than this.
Check the show notes for links to info on both the comics we talked about this week. Follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. Join our Facebook page or the more active group. Listen to our audio-only videos on YouTube. All of those are linked from deconstructingcomics.com. You can communicate with us via any of those sites or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com or talk to us. Click the Leave a Voicemail link on the left sidebar of our site. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is from bensound.com. The music backing the promotion of our Patreon is Change by Jazar. The recording of next week's planned episode has been postponed. I had planned to record with Emmett, but down in country Victoria, Australia, where he lives, there have been bad brush fires, and he and his significant other had to evacuate. There have been some deaths, and small towns have been wiped out. I'm putting a link in the show notes to the Australian Red Cross if you'd like to help out the victims. As for next week's Deconstructing Comics, we got a rerun. Sorry, a flashback episode. Kumar and I discuss Walt Simonson's 1980s run on The Mighty Thor, a run that revitalized that series. So I hope you'll join us next week. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics.